Hello everyone and welcome back. Finally, we are reaching our final lesson and our final tutorial. In this tutorial, we are hoping to go through everything you have learned so far and apply here to refresh your memory. Even though this is the last tutorial, this is the beginning of your color pencil learning path. Now, as you can see in this part, we are going through the drawing part, a freehand style as always. And again, as always, practice this drawing a few times while watching, and then also get help from the grids and the outlines that have been prepared for you from the downloadable resources. So far we have been using Faber-Castell, the Coral pencil. We are drawing this part of the portrait. This is one of my favorite portraits that I have done. It's very bright, very nice, and also the elements that we use for this one, comparing to the reference that you do have access in order to print it out, it is a little different. You know, we are teaching you all the color pencil techniques. However, all the time we go through a fantasy feeling and also our own style, so you can get familiar with different styles in between learning all the color pencil techniques. So have a look how we are going through the chin part and also the rest of the facial features. Keep drawing approximately where our facial features can be. In a second, I'm going to show you our main reference photo. However, I want you to try and guess what we are doing, and when I'm actually drawing them in a freehand way, if you could look at the reference and try to follow my hands and practice at the same time. I'm using cast art paper, a very textured and also heavy paper. So we do have difference between 300 GSM or 250 or even 200. If you choose any less than 200 GSM paper thickness, it's not going to be that good, to be honest with you. So I prefer like my students to use from 200 to 350 GSM thickness for their papers. So slowly going to complete the rest of the outlines. Make sure around the lips you do have all the details, even though I mentioned that so many times before. However, we have to remember that taking your time and putting a little more effort onto your drawing part before coloring is very important, because you need to make sure that all the outlines they have been correctly done, and then they are not really any mistakes hasn't been done. So if there's any mistake, please erase it, go through with them even 5 times, 10 times, 20 times. It doesn't really matter how many times you go with it, as long as you know that you're drawing all the outlines are accurate and you're using like correct measuring. Even though you're looking at it with your eye reference, you're looking and then do a freehand, still make sure that as much as possible they're correct placement, because when it comes to coloring, if they are wrong, your drawing's not gonna come out really nice. So you're gonna say, why my drawing is not, for instance, as good as this, why I couldn't do it, so I cannot do this. They go all back to your practice and effort, because a lot of my students, even though we go around the easiest like eye drawings or nose drawings, and they have all the outlines, they still wants to finish so fast that this is actually not right. They have to put more effort and take time, at least maybe spend a few hours practicing that model, that subject they have chosen already. It is quite obvious for your instructor when you send your practices that you didn't put like that much time into the drawing and you only spend time, for instance, 10 minutes on shading. So that's not really a good practice. So I assume that you're gonna, for instance, if this is a 2-hour course tutorial, you need to actually put 2 hours for this. watch it at the same time, keep drawing it. And if you think the drawing part is hard at the beginning, make sure that you go through the outlines before, or even I don't recommend tracing. Especially in this course, I did all of the outlines for you in a freehand style because there was so much request from you guys that you want to learn how to draw, and a lot of instructors, they don't go through the whole drawing process for you. Now this is your chance. You have all the freehand drawings, you have the outlines prepared for you, even the grids. Now there is no excuse. You actually don't go through the drawing parts and put more effort and time for it. And when you actually send me your practices, I can see, for instance, yes, she put more than 10 minutes for this. I'm not saying put a lot of time. I'm not saying like do not spend time, like for instance with your family going out or like watching Netflix. I'm just saying please put a little more effort onto the course that you have purchased. You put money onto it so you can actually get the best out of it. And I'm always there to help you out with anything, any question that you have, so I can guide you better through this. This is not the end of the lesson, end of this course. This is just the beginning. As I mentioned, this is the beginning of you go back, practice your skills, watch again, practice again, and I'm gonna say again, practice again. So as you can see, we are going through the hairstyle. The hairstyle of our pink lady is very short curly hairs, so we have to make sure that both sides have been done. Even the outlines for the hair is nice to have them more. So slowly, let's look at it from more distance to see how everything's going. Now after the first outline, I'm more I'm sure like some of them they're correct, so I can put more pencil pressure on some of the parts. Continuing with the pupil of the eyes, and then after we place them, we have to consider where about which other places we need to make sure they're correct. You can see how I'm trying to make sure the lines being done correctly. Not just too much, but a little from here. Let's start adding, put more pressure. You just have to believe in your practice and your hand drawings. Don't think it's too hard, because when I started, it didn't mean like I could draw like this. So it all came, it goes, it all go to your practice at the end. And then almost we are done with the curviness of the hairs. Just a few more details. Then after that, with black, I'm going to start working on the eyes parts. Just a few more lines. Now with our black pencil that I mentioned, let's just start going through the pupil ones. Let's look at it from a closer shot. You can see that I'm still determining if it's been done correctly or not, to make sure it's correct. Also, if you look, there's a small highlight above the pupil ones and also below it, to make it more stylish and more towards fantasy feeling. Going through the upper eyelid. You have to make sure you decide where are the highlights so we won't shade those areas. The lower eyelid then. minimum pressure, guys, because if it's done incorrectly, I can go back to it and actually correct it. So the outline for the iris parts, now you can, with this shot you can see more, it's closer, so it's easier to see the details. For these tutorials, at some point I'm going to let you actually watch the whole thing rather than me speaking all the time, so you can actually find out the techniques that have been used. The pencil, all of the pencils have been written on the screen for you. So with our cinnamon color, as you all of you know, is one of my favorite colors, using it for darker areas, and it had like pink pigment in it, and color those dark areas with it, going around the nose and the corner of the eyes. And even though it's such a bright color, however, when you bring a second layer or a third layer, either with the same color or other colors, it's gonna become very, very dark. So moderately use it. Make sure you use it with circular hand movements, going around. From here, you can see which areas require to use this pencil, or any pencils equivalent to this color, you can use that. So make sure you pick up the right ones and then keep using them. Like around the forehead, but especially the edge parts, not just for instance in the middle suddenly. There's no need to do that, because usually the middle part of the forehead, it should be shinier or brighter with highlights. Even with makeups, usually this part they put more whiteness on it or brighter stuff. Like, I'm not really good at makeup, so I have no idea what to say. However, when it comes to pencil, we should keep it like cleaner, less colored in the middle of it. So going around the outline of the portrait, again circular hand movements. Making sure they're all done correctly. Please, as I mentioned, any pencil you use, it is correct, it is fine. However, please do check your the lesson, the tutorial on these pencils that taught you how to use it on different color tones and color skin tones. So first go through that one, and then second, any of them that you want to apply in this, even if it's brown or black skin or a little yellowish skin or whiter skin, anything you want to do is okay, as long as you choose right colors. So pick ones, the one that you really desire your model skin tone to have. Actually, I really look forward to see what color skin tones you're going to use and how you're gonna combine your pencils. So anything would be fine, as long as you follow where I'm putting the highlights and the shadows. That's very important. Like where about on the nose part or the lips part or the edges of the face, please follow these hand movements and practice after that. So again, we are going to keep using the same pencil, going around. Sanguine is almost, if you don't have this the color sanguine, it's okay, because you can use a color closer to red and orange. And if you don't have a proper red and orange, you can always combine them. So it means you need to properly lay down a few layers. First of all, make sure that the orange layer comes in a very subtle way. Then you gradually add your red on it. However, this means your coloring is gonna take a little more time. So we are going through the below the tip of the nose, but the below part that we always have shadows on it, because usually the light doesn't go around there. Make sure the outline is more visible. Not just the drawing parts, even the shading parts and the coloring parts you're doing, if you believe it needs to be corrected, since we haven't done burnishing and damaged the texture of the paper, and we don't have that much color, we still can erase and correct the color parts. You can see that gradually we are getting into the shape of our drawing. Mainly going onto the areas that we have used with our cinnamon color, and color those areas again. Look at the speed of my hand movements and the pencil pressure also. So for the sanguine, this color is for the darker areas for the second layer, which would be after this we might use it on the hair shadows and around the portrait for the main outlines. Then it would be great to use another lighter color and blend these two layers together, because when you have done two layers and they are not the same color, it's really good to use a color such as beige red that it's very bright. It's the color not white but close to that you can blend the colors underneath so they look more mature, your colors. Of course, the areas that I'm not touching are the areas we're going to use other colors. Look how just slowly I'm going to onto the same areas, the same layers. How much darker it gets, even though it's such a bright and light color pencil. Still with circular motion, you can see that I never give up with this kind of hand movements. So make it your habit. Make it as a habit how to move your pencil, how much pressure you're gonna bring on onto different layers. And also another habit is like layering and blending is very important, guys. Don't let it stay raw and with 1-2 layers just finish your work. Slowly going around the chin and then around the main outlines of the arm parts, the shoulder parts. Going to start burnt ochre. We are going to start this pencil because it has some orange pigments in it, as you have seen on the reference, our main model. Even though it's such a darker color, however, most of the color pencils that we are using, they're in the same range of colors, so we don't go out of that range. Keep coloring the area. After that, we are going to use a little black on the area that we need to keep total darkness. If not black, you still can use dark brown or any Even dark gray, I don't recommend dark gray. I recommend either black, not even black. Lots of instructors, they don't use black, but it's okay for here. So, but when it comes, do you see how the eyes looks like, and also the makeup is quite different from a normal makeup, to be honest with you. So we need to actually use less normal pencils that a lot of professional instructors use. They don't recommend using black, but this model has lots of I can say black lines, and also black makeup, I have to say, around. For here we are using a darker brown. You can use, we are using Nougat. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. However, it is a brown between, I have to say, between burnt ochre and Van Dyke, dark Van Dyke. So it is a good one for if you don't want to use such a dark brown, or such a like bright brown. It's a good brown color to use. You can see the eyes has lots of bluishness inside, but the blue is blue and gray almost, I can say. And if you really focus on the eyes, they have even brown in it. They have white highlights of the paper that we're gonna leave it alone. And also you have to always go around the edges of the iris and color them. So we are using sky blue in order to achieve that gray bluish, because it's not that crazy blue, but also it has some gray pigments in it. I was about to say ingredient. I think I talked about food and compare art to food a lot. So a lot of times I said don't leave it raw, cook it. So it means like spend time and make sure you have so many different layers on it. So we're going to continue again using black color. And now you, after seeing the model much closely, you know that we have lots of black on this model. So I'm going to continue coloring around and use different pencils. As I mentioned, all the pencils being mentioned on the screen for you guys. So let's watch together, and I let you enjoy watching it with some nice music in between. Whenever there is a little harder technique that maybe it was mentioned before a little less, I will come back and let you know. However, most of the stuff that you're watching, you have learned before. Before we actually going through the whole thing and watch it together, I will mention few important things. Again, you know all of them, and we watch together. When it comes to the curvy part of the hair, make sure you use certain colors in between the lines that going to show the curviness. You learn different hair drawings and versions. Now this is a good time you apply those things. Then for the eyebrows that we are going through, make sure the shading and the hairlines, they go well with each other. That's very important. Also, when it comes to the nostrils and the dark part of the nose, we have to choose a pencil, and where we are actually putting the shadows, that will be correct accordingly. And then when it comes to the lips, again, it's very important, the middle line always darker comparing to the between the lips, especially the between of both sides of the lips. And when it goes towards the outlines, I have to say it gets different. So I just showed you the eyebrows on that part. You saw how the eyebrows looks like. For now, let's watch together and see and learn more techniques. So I hope you have enjoyed so far. We listened to some very, very lovely, uplifting music. There are some of my favorites. However, in the meantime, we saw that we completed the eyebrows and we went on to the eyes coloring a little, and how we colored the eyes and around it. We for sure we are going to add even more colors. However, in the meantime, since we are going through the hair drawing and coloring, you have to be extremely careful where that you're going to add more colors and where you're reducing the pressure. For instance, when you added a black or a brownish color in between, especially this side, near the roots, it needs to be a little darker, and when it goes down near the curves, the bottom part of the curves, the end parts, I mean, they should become much thinner and much lighter colors, as you can see. So make sure any color that you pick, you follow this method. Now you have to keep adding different hair strands. Do not limit yourself with few and then just shade the area, like coloring it. But so we call this technique like hatching. The hatching part is more towards line drawings rather than just with circular motion and hand movement. You go around and fill up the gaps, the area, the spaces. You can see that the hand is freer, not really strict my hand movements. Now, even though we use a certain color of the pink, but you don't need to have all those colors. Maybe a pinkish color and red, a combination of these two, you can create a lot of different pink colors, and also white and red gives you lots of different pink pigments. Going forward, about the eyes that we have completed, make sure the makeup comes it comes closer to what you have, what we have colored so far. You can see we are using so many different color pencil. I just want to emphasize, you don't need this amount of like color pencils for sure. Don't think just because I'm using different versions for you to see the color difference and for you to understand what colors Faber-Castell a complete set has. It doesn't mean you need those ones. Just so make sure that you're really not limiting yourself to these colors. And even if you want to pink pencils and a few red orange, for instance, instead of this color you can easily use darker orange as well. So have a look at the hand movements, how extra hair around we draw, the ones that they are freer around, more loose, I have to say, more loose hair strokes. So keep adding layers, but line layers rather than just normal shading. Fuchsia is a very, very nice color. However, it's like a very normal pink compared to this one that is like darker. Now if you see, adding a little more pressure around here and with different direction, because you need to create that dimension onto the top part of the head. So make sure that you know where you're actually shading and where you're doing line drawings. Keep going around. So while we are watching this part, I don't want to speed up this part. So we are going back to play some really nice music, some of my favorites. For those of you who think that you have learned the hair on one side and you want to move a little faster, you can skip the hair part and go forward, and then I'll come back to you with more skin color drawing. Again, I hope you enjoyed the music as much as I did. We are back with the colors for the skin and how we are going to add more skin color tone. We have to compare the hair drawing and how much color we have added to that one, and then we have a better understanding how much color we have to add to the skin parts. I don't know, maybe I wanted to have some scone. I suddenly said that, but going back to the edges, make sure if you recall at the very beginning of our color drawing of this tutorial, you saw that on these areas we have added lots of different layers, maybe around 2 to 4 different layers with subtle colors that they're really close to skin. We are going to continue. However, it would be really lovely to have some colors they're close to the hair, our hair, so they're not too distinguished and too so different, so it doesn't feel weird when you're looking at it. Continue, go around and make sure you keep using your circular hand movement. Okay, and then we mentioned that around the nose and this area is always darker, so we are adding more color onto that, which is I would really appreciate you follow this kind of hand movements and make sure you place the color of with your color pencil the same areas I'm teaching you here, going around for the cheek part. As it's more color, adding more. Let's move faster on this area. So moving towards the skin a little faster with Nougat, and we are going to combine it with a little lighter, such as burnt ochre pencil. Really perfect colors for color skin tones. Add more pressure for some special lines, the neck and the jaw lines. So I'm really not happy with the nose. It's not really looking like our model, so maybe we need to do some correction, and this is perfect because it doesn't mean all the time we do a really correct drawing and coloring. At some point we really need to correct them. So with your eraser, don't worry, it's okay that you actually correct your drawings and go and change it. As long as you haven't damaged the texture of the pencil, the paper with your pencil, you can go ahead and correct it. So have a look how we are going to change the outlines, and then with more symmetrical nose wings, we are going to start drawing it. We could have skipped this part, but again, it's an excellent opportunity. We look that even if we erase it, we can completely bring back the layout that we have already. It's not there anymore. So with burnt umber, we're gonna go through the nostrils and this time do a better drawing and coloring, and make sure the details have been done this time more better. Go around the nose wings outline. You can use the same color on the sides of the nose and gradually go down until the nose wings to make sure the color is almost the same. So it's been shaded with the same brownish color. You can choose like Nougat or hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. So going around and make sure you have the same color pattern, symmetrical ones on both sides. See how slowly I'm moving my hand and go around and make sure all the colors blend well together. adding more color tone. So now we are going to start using my favorite color, cinnamon, on our the forehead. We have used this few times on this area, so you can see when we are using it again, it means like you have to layer, you put create lots of different layers for your drawings. Going around the nose. Even though we cleared this area and did it again, so you have to bring that color pigments on it. However, the nose drawing and shading, the standard way of doing it won't change, so it just will make it looks better. Going around the arm and the shoulder. We haven't started the lips still. When we start creating the lips, the shape of our model will come out come out finally, and we see it properly. Let's keep shading with our cinnamon color. So after this, we can move a little faster, going around and color more with our salmon color. Really, salmon and cinnamon really go well together, these two color pencils. The same areas that we use for the when we use cinnamon, the same areas we're gonna still keep using our salmon color, especially on the cheek parts. More realistic feeling on our skin color tone. You can see we are going around exactly the same areas. So now using beige red just to blend the previous one. So you can see the formula, it doesn't change. We are using the colors which says cinnamon and also salmon, and now with beige red, which is closer to white, that burnishing and blending technique that we have learned at the very beginning of this course, we go on it and blend the previous two colors very well together. Now look at the burnt umber or any brown that you have, how we are going to add more outlines around. The same areas we are just adding more pressure, and this time we are using a little black to make sure the skin tone understand we want it to be very dark. We made it understood. So now going through the rest. With cinnamon, exactly we went around the same areas we have done so far. Before we start the lips with our burnt umber, which here I did too much, so we have to a little eliminate the chin part so it shows more. However, with cinnamon, we're gonna blend the burnt umber line that we previously drew here underneath the lower lip. Now gradually start drawing the outline of the lips. Again, even on this tutorial I mentioned that these two lines that right now we are just going through, they should be darker than the highlights in the middle of the lips. So I hope you enjoyed the music so far. Going back to the lips, we use few very pinkish, very girly and beautiful colors, and we're going to still continue working on it. But the reason I wanted to mention few things here, even though we have talked about it so many times, looking at it with closer shot, you can see like how we are using a darker brown. I always suggest like instead of black, it's better to use brown colors. Even though I use a lot of black, it doesn't mean that you should as well. If you don't want to, you want to create a subtle feeling, you still can use a brownish color. Even though this is called purple pink, it's still very pinkish color. I mentioned before that you don't need to have a lot of pink colors. However, what I wanted to talk to you is about the wrinkles and the textures on their lips. Never underestimate like having textures around your drawings, and always make sure you add them. But one thing I have seen that a lot of my students they do, and when I say a lot, I mean a lot of them, unfortunately, how much I tell you guys, please do not put a lot of pressure on your pencil when it comes to the texture. You have to blend the lines. When it comes to lines, there is this saying that I keep saying it. Please blend it. You cannot keep them as how they are. You need to go on them and make sure those lines they don't stay raw, and you can create that dimension, that liveliness onto that, rather than just a very separate line somewhere sitting there doing nothing. So it's better like you're with exactly with beige red, you go on it and you blend everything that you have done. So make sure you follow that. You will see that the red lips actually looks much more it's alive, kinda. It feels more real rather than before. I'm using ivory color here. However, I'm using ivory, it's close to white. I'm still not using white. Let's not leave the whole eyes without any color. It's better always to go around it and give those colors that are needed. And what's important, you can see that I'm actually creating different feelings, more layers around the lips. It's because it needs to. Just don't leave it out to dry. So go around, circular motion, circular hand movement with enough pressure, not too much, not too less, and create it. Practice these areas and make sure that you follow what I'm actually trying to say so many times. You can see the outline around the portrait that we are creating. It's not a lot, but it's creating that enough forwardness that our portrait needs to. So going around and with certain lines. With darker brown, we created a line right now, but again, went on it and make sure that we blend that color. That's what's important. And then from the line, go inside and gradually reduce the pressure. So always from the line, more color next to the line, and then slowly, gradually go away from the line. Maybe here we're next to the line, and then gradually we go towards the cheek part and then towards the face, and reducing the hand pressure and the pencil pressure. So you can see you're going around with the same color and add more layers. So far, let's watch the rest and how we progress, and follow and practice along. So again, I hope you enjoyed a long time listening to music so far. Um, Now we have created a lot of textures, a lot of layers on our model. These are the few last touches I'm going through, so I wanted to talk to you about what we have done and what we went through. Make sure when you look at your model, you create enough layers, especially for this one, the curviness around these areas that we are working right now. It's very important how you do it. Go around and make sure you have your line drawings all over. Now, since we have watched a lot of this hair drawing, I would like to move a little forward and then go a little speedy so we can watch the rest with each other. Going around the layers, these are the final touches as I mentioned. So with the same pencils, we're just gonna give some blush to the onto the cheeks and around the forehead. Make sure you use the similar color tones when it comes to the head and also the cheeks. If, for instance, you're using, let's say, green head, like not head, sorry, green hair drawing and coloring, maybe use some of that onto the eyes, the eyebrows, not so much onto the skin, but a little, maybe the olive version of it, because green olive is very nice. So you get the point, like how we are saying, like use same color tone onto the skin and the hair, because it will look more beautiful. So as you can see, we are going to add more layers. The more you add, the more beautiful and more beautiful it gets. So make sure you go around. Not all the time. You don't have to do line drawings on the hair. Of course, you can do some shadings to create more dimension. So with cinnamon color, we are going around the skin to create more skin tone. Look at this beautiful color. It's amazing how it matches the skin tone without adding anything onto it. Really recommend one of the colors that you get. This one, beige red. Not really ivory, but ivory is a good color substitute of white. Still not recommended that much. Burnt ochre is a must. You need to have it for your color scheme. It's very hard to create it. Ochre and sienna, one of those colors that you really need to have in order to create good colors. And this one is beige red, as I mentioned to you, that you go with it on different layers and blend it. Blend the previous layers is a brilliant color. Still a little slower. Let's go around so you don't forget the speed that you need to practice. Even if I should a little speedy time of this tutorial, but it doesn't mean you have to do it so fast. So this is the real speed we have to practice. Slowly go around. So this is the end of our lesson, end of our course. I really hope you enjoyed so far, and I would really appreciate if you could leave some positive comments, leave some suitable comments if you feel like after the course you see, and go ahead, say, okay, I like the course. Create more courses. I would love to do that for you guys. Kidding aside, if you have any questions and you want a certain video to be created, a certain subject to be created for you guys, of course I will do that. So you just have a lot of, like, few people needs to tell me we need this, so I'm gonna start like creating those courses for you, or lessons to add to the course. So don't forget to leave a message, or on there are places on the website that you could go and everyone can see your actual practices. We can comment and like each other, our work, And of course, for me, I'm gonna leave comments that say what is good, what is maybe not good about some parts of your drawings, and what you can improve to get better and better. For others, they can see your practices and get motivated to do better later on. So that's very important, guys. And I want all my students to get the best quality out of all the courses I create for you guys. So and hopefully I have tried my best so far. Again, whoever watched until here, really congratulations. And I couldn't be happier. I'm more proud of you. Again, I cannot wait to receive your practices. Please do send me. It makes me the happiest. Not just I can see your practices, but I can comment on them. So go ahead, watch more lessons, and good luck. Looking forward to see you also on this course and other courses. Bye bye.